Hello everyone, it's me again, Joseph, your host, and welcome back to our channel and the Catechism for Kids. Have you ever heard about an English king whose severed head was guarded by a wolf? It sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, but it's the incredible story of Saint Edmund the Martyr, the original patron saint of England. Today on November 20th, we celebrate his feast day and explore his amazing life of courage and faith. So, who was Saint Edmund? He was the Anglo-Saxon king of East Anglia way back in the 9th century. Edmund was born about 840. He was to die just 30 years later in 870. Aged 15 years old, he had been crowned king of East Anglia. Despite his youth, he was a model ruler from the start, dealing fairly with all. But he was more than just, was also devout. For a whole year, King Edmund retired to his royal tower at Hunstanton to learn the Psalter, so that he might afterward recite it ceaselessly by heart. Imagine being a young king, responsible for an entire kingdom, when a massive threat appears on the horizon. The great heathen army of Vikings. This wasn't just any army. They were a powerful and feared force sweeping across the land. In the year 869, this Viking army invaded East Anglia. King Edmund, a devout Christian, led his forces to defend his people. He fought bravely, but his army was ultimately overwhelmed and defeated. Edmund himself was captured. The Vikings then gave him a choice. He could keep his life and continue to rule, but only as their puppet king, and most importantly, he had to renounce his Christian faith. For the Vikings, this was a political move to cement their control. For Edmund, it was an impossible demand. He was faced with a decision that would define his legacy forever. Would he choose his life or his faith? Edmund refused. He declared that he would not betray his God for his own safety. This wasn't just a political statement. It was a profound act of faith. He had given his whole life to Jesus, and in this final, defining moment, he would not turn his back on his Savior. His decision enraged the Viking leaders. What happened next is both brutal and a testament to his incredible endurance. They tied Edmund to a tree, was beaten, whipped, and then used for target practice. The legends say he was shot with so many arrows that his body looked like a hedgehog. Through all this unimaginable pain, Edmund never renounced his faith. He continued to call out to Jesus. Finally, seeing that his spirit would not break, they beheaded him, and, in a final act of desecration, threw his head deep into a nearby forest. After the Vikings moved on, Edmund's loyal followers returned to find their king's body and give him a proper Christian burial. They found his body, but his head was nowhere to be seen. They searched and searched, calling out his name. As they desperately combed through the woods, they heard a mysterious voice calling back, "Here, here, here." They followed the sound, and what they found was truly astonishing. There, deep in the forest, was a large wild wolf, gently guarding the king's severed head. Instead of desecrating it, the wolf was protecting it from other animals. The creature was calm and allowed the followers to approach and retrieve the head without any aggression. This moment was seen as a clear sign of God's favor. The wolf, a symbol of wildness and danger, became a gentle guardian for a holy martyr. Because of this legend, a wolf is one of Saint Edmund's most enduring symbols. But the miracles didn't stop there. According to the legend, when his followers placed his head back with his body, it miraculously reattached. This sealed his status as a saint in the eyes of the people. His story of faith, courage, and divine intervention spread like wildfire. Because of his steadfast faith and the miraculous events surrounding his death, Saint Edmund quickly became one of the most revered saints in England. In fact, long before St. George, Edmund was the patron saint of England. He became the patron of kings, a protector for victims of torture, and a powerful intercessor against pandemics and the plague. During the Middle Ages, when widespread disease was a constant terror, people would pray to Saint Edmund for protection. Believing his steadfastness in the face of death gave him special power against such afflictions. A magnificent abbey and shrine were built in his honor at his burial site. The town that grew around it was named Bury St. Edmunds, which still exists today in Suffolk. For centuries, the Abbey of St. Edmund was one of the most famous and wealthy pilgrimage sites in all of Europe. Kings, queens, and commoners traveled there to visit his shrine, pray, and ask for his intercession. Kings of England visited frequently, giving generously to the abbey and honoring the memory of the king who chose God over his own life. So, where is Saint Edmund today? This is where the story takes a mysterious turn. During the 16th century, King Henry VIII broke with the Catholic Church and began the dissolution of the monasteries. In 1539, the magnificent abbey of Saint Edmund was desecrated and dismantled. The commissioners who took it apart made no mention of what happened to the saint's body. It's likely the monks, knowing what was coming, quietly removed his remains from the shrine to protect them. The whereabouts of Saint Edmund's body remains one of England's greatest historical mysteries. Historians continue to search for him. One theory, proposed by Dr. Francis Young, suggests that Edmund's remains might still be buried within the old abbey grounds, perhaps in a simple iron chest in the former monks' cemetery. Imagine the lost King of England could still be resting peacefully right where his journey ended. So what can we, especially young people, learn from Saint Edmund today? His story is a powerful lesson about courage and faithfulness. True bravery isn't about being fearless. It's about standing up for what you believe in, even when you're terrified. Edmund was a king with everything to lose: his power, his kingdom, his very life. Yet he understood that his faith was more valuable than all of it. Life teaches us that loyalty to God can give us strength in the darkest of times. Think about it. How could someone face such a horrible death and still have joy in his heart? Because that's what a deep relationship with God can do. It can turn our world upside down, rearranging our priorities so that worldly fears lose their power. Saint Edmund let God turn his life upside down so completely that even death lost its sting. He was focused on the promise of heaven. This might seem like a radical idea. Sometimes we might be afraid of what will happen if we truly let God into every part of our lives. We worry about what we might have to give up or how we might have to change. What parts of your life are you holding back? Are you nervous to hand them over? The story of Saint Edmund invites us to consider that question. He shows us that when we give our lives fully to God, we don't lose ourselves. Instead, we find a deeper joy and a courage we never knew we had. For over 2,000 years, Jesus has been radically transforming the lives of people all over the world. That's history. But now, he wants to transform you and your life. The question Saint Edmund's story leaves us with is, are you ready? Are you ready to let God turn your life right side up? Thank you so much for joining us today to learn about the incredible wolf-guarded king, Saint Edmund the Martyr. His legacy of courage and unwavering faith continues to inspire us more than 1,000 years later. If you enjoyed this story and want to learn more about the lives of the saints, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Take care, everyone. Stay safe and healthy as usual. We'll see you next time, and God bless you always.